Hello, Dalia. Now, I've been asking to do this video for a very long time, and it's about the top financial institutions to get mortgages, whether you're a real estate investor, where you're focusing commercial properties. So let me know what's on the street right now.
Here's what happens with mortgage rates, Tracy. I can give you the list today, and in a few hours from now, that list will shift or change. So the best thing to do here is to share with you what's the best rate right now for both fixed and variable rates, tell you who's offering them. And then when you go online for any rate shopping portals, look for these rates or a discount and then see who's offering them. But I'm going to put a big asterisk next to how you go about the process. Let's first talk about what is on the street right now. The 5-year fixed are sitting at around 6.04. 5 years variable are sitting at around 6.40. That is prime minus 80. And I'm talking here about insured mortgages. If someone is refinancing or renewing at maximum 80% of the value or buying with a 20% down. If someone is looking to buy and occupy the property with less than 20% down, they can actually get more aggressive rates than what I've just shared with you. Their 5 years fixed would be close to 5.94. Their variable rate would be at prime minus 1.20. So that's 6%. So I know I shared these numbers pretty quickly, but it's important to, when you're shopping for rates, it's obviously we all want to make sure that we're not overpaying for interest. And you can always go online. Like I said, there are multiple hubs where you can look for and who's offering what. Here's what to keep in mind. If you are buying a house to occupy or you're refinancing a house that, you live in, I would say going by the rate is fine. Like finding the lowest rate and going to the lender that is offering that rate to talk to them is fine. But if you're dealing with rental properties, the story is completely different because the objective is different. For real estate investors, the objective is I want to build my wealth. I want to buy more properties over time, but I want to make sure they cash flow. I want to make sure that I am getting the best amortization and I can add to my portfolio. Very different goal than someone's home. I want to make sure I'm saving and I am getting the right product, obviously. If you're going to look at rates for your rental property and just go to the lender that is offering that rate, you may or may not qualify with them, but let's say you qualify. It's important not to approach it that way because here's what tends to happen. You may go and get approved for this transaction, but your next transaction will be declined because you've maxed out with that lender. You wouldn't actually know as a client going about it that way. So it's important to go about shopping the process for a rental property in a strategic way. And that's how we help clients do it. But for your primary residence, you can go to a rate portal or talk to a broker. And it's not as damaging to go purely by the rate for that, is what I'm trying to say.
No, thank you, Dalia. I was going to say that just brought another lesson learned for me. So when I was starting my rental property investing journey, that I actually got a mortgage just by the rates. And one of them was with Home Trust, which is, I'm not sure if they still exist, but
Yeah. Big lenders,
they're big lenders, right? But they're not in the top tier, I guess what you would call top lenders. And it actually disqualified me for a lot of the bigger banks, just because that one property was a small multifamily, and I could have got a better rate with the next rental property. So I wish I had a broker like your team to help me tell me that instead of me figuring out the unfortunate way.
There are always lessons through this experience, Tracy. Here's the thing. As a client, the number of properties they will do, how they run the numbers, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. So you're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. While here, we breathe every day these rules. We know how they think. We know, okay, the first one, I take it here. The second one, I take it there. Oh, now that you have plans to acquire 5 more. Let's make sure that we're strategic about how we allocate them behind the scene. But again, primary residence is simple. It's just one property. The rules are pretty much consistent across the board. It's not as damaging to just go by the rate. However, I always say it's not always about the rate because there's always fine print. You want to be aware of the amortization. You want to know what product you are actually taking? What are your prepayment privileges? What are your ways to exit? There are clients who chase rates for their primary residences, Tracy, and locked themselves into a mortgage that they could not get out of regardless of what they did. They could not refinance it. They could not take money out. Only if they sold the property, they could break that mortgage. There is a lot of fine print that comes with the lowest rates on the street, and you always need guidance.
Wow, I had no idea that you could get into a mortgage where you can only get out of if sold the home. That's crazy. I'd never heard of that. That's brand new to me.
It's called bona fide sale clause.
Let's segue into what you're seeing on the street right now from the lenders.
I'm seeing still HSBC offering some of the lowest rates on the street. Some of the rates I quoted you earlier are with HSBC. HSBC competes on rates, and the rates right now are pretty attractive, both on the fixed and variable rate fronts for owner occupied and rental properties. And they're still offering promotions as well to cover some of the switching costs. Their cashback offers are still alive. So they offer up to a $5,000 cashback. They're one of the lenders we lean on if the product obviously fits the client's goals and objectives, because you save going down that route.
Is there another one that's even coming close? Like, I'm just thinking, what are the top three right now?
If you go online, you will see some what are called monoline lenders. Monoline lenders are not lenders that are in the big five bank category. Lenders like First National. These lenders are have mortgage insurance behind the scene. You don't see it as a client, but that's how their money protected. They're able to uh, lend in a safer way and pass these savings to you. You would see better rates with some of these lenders on the street as well, but they're not very rental friendly. They're more for the first time home buyer or primary resident. That's where they compete the most.
It sounds like if you went with that, it could make it more of a headache if you want to buy more rental properties. Because that's how I think that's what I experienced. It's is where I went with Home Trust, and it made a bit of a headache to go buy my fourth rental property.
Home Trust is a B lender.
Okay, B
Okay,
lender.
so in the A lenders category, you've got the banks and you've got these monoline lenders that I'm referring to. And then in the B lender category, you've got the Home Trust, the Equitable Bank, and a list of several more. And then you've got private money bucket. That's the C. Again, there are different websites you can go to see who's offering what rate as of this hour, this day, like rate hub. But again, I want you to be cautious about just chasing the rate. It's best to talk to a broker to help you understand, one, is that the right choice for you, given your plans for the property and your plans for financially, and guide you also through the terms that are most suitable for you. And as a broker, we have a big shelf behind us of products. We don't deal with one bank, right? So I don't care if it's going to Scotia or TD, or at the end of the day, it has to be to your best interest, and we give you the best out of that shelf. Where when you go to one bank, they only have one shelf.
Mhm.
They only have one shelf. And they cannot go and say, oh, you know what? Go to the green bank to get the other product because they actually do a better job than us. They're not going to say that.
Yeah, of course not. It's okay. So let's just segue into commercial or multifamily properties. Does that change the landscape? Because we talked about really focusing on residential right now.
With residential, you can go on a portal, you can check out all rate combinations, 5-year fixed, 3-2-1 variables. You can do that. With commercial, which is 5 units or more, it's a different story. Here's the thing about 5 units or more. There are 2 lenders on the street. They actually look at 5 and 6 units the same way they look at a 1, 2, 3, or 4 unit. That is Desjardins and RBC. Outside of these two, the rest of the lenders treat them as a commercial property. And that's where you cannot find rates online. But here's how it works. So all commercial mortgages, Tracy, are priced on the bond yield. So there is the Government of Canada bonds and there is Canadian mortgage bonds. If you're going to finance a commercial property without CMHC, most of the time the lenders are going to go by the Government of Canada bonds. Actually, if you search today, Government of Canada 5-year bond rates. You're going to see a chart. It's going to tell you what that number is today, and lenders will add their profit on top. That profit is typically, let's say the number today is, I don't know, 4 point something. The lenders typically add anywhere from 1 to 2% to that number, and that becomes your commercial rate. Sometimes they have internal sources of money and you cannot price it that way, but you can use this as a rule of thumb. On the CMHC side, meaning if you're going to buy a property with CMHC insurance, which allows you to get a longer amortization up to 50 years, gets you a bigger loan to value up to 95, better interest rate, then that's where the lenders use the Canadian mortgage bond. Also, you can go online and search 5 years Canadian mortgage bond. You'll see where it is right now, and you can add a premium to it. And that premium, because an insured deal is much, much smaller. So rule of thumb, you can add, half a point to 1%. But that's the difference between residential and commercial. Residential, you can say, Dalia, today, what's your best rate on, this duplex? I can tell you. Commercial, Dalia, what's your best rate on this sixplex? I can guesstimate what that is as of today, but that rate will not be locked until you are actually close to funding that deal. And it may be different than what I'm quoting you today, depending on how the bonds move. But directionally, we know, are they going up? Are they going down? So that's how we plan for the rate analysis and how we plan for the deal structure. So here is a cool example, Tracy. Let's say you're buying a 5 units property, right? And that 5 units property is vacant. On the commercial side, that property will qualify for 0. If we're dealing with Desjardins or RBC, because it's residential, who qualifies for the mortgage? You, not the property. So they're running the numbers based on your income, your debt, and they can get an appraiser's opinion of what it's going to rent for, and that's how they're going to do the deal. Commercial, here is a property that is fully vacant, quote unquote, a business that is not making money, gets 0 today. That's the contrast.
You're saying, because typically with a multifamily 4 units or more, it's qualified as a business, typically. But because we have these two lenders that are qualifying these mortgages as residential, they use you. So there are some scenarios where that makes sense. And then there's some scenarios where it's much better to actually qualify as a business
Yes,
versus you personally. Maybe you don't
yes,
have the right income and you don't even want it in your name. Like that's what
exactly.
that's really interesting. I didn't even think of it from that perspective. But Dalia, just wanted to circle back right now on the street, the top 3 mortgage interest rates for residential, even residential investors.
So if you're buying a home, I would suggest HSBC. I would suggest First National. And then you keep an eye on the promotions that are offered by the banks. The banks want to get more insured business. So sometimes they put out to the market aggressive promotions. So again, you can go and look at what each of the big 5 banks is offering as a promotion, and that is the bank to deal with or approach. On the investor side, investors always pay a little bit of a premium above the rates that I quoted, Tracy, because from a bank standpoint or a lender standpoint, rentals are quote unquote riskier. Again, one of the things we can argue about is, are they riskier or not riskier? But they charge a premium. The investor rate, I wouldn't say go to this lender for the best investor rate, because I would be misleading the audience here. I would say that from my experience, in terms of the bank's ability to look at rental property from a portfolio standpoint, so the numbers work better. I would say Scotiabank is great. They can do up to 10 rental properties in total. CIBC is actually excellent. They look at the portfolio versus just one property at a time. Mind you, there is a fine print to that. National Bank is actually very good as well, because they have number of doors versus just number of properties. These 3 are pretty good. These would be the key ones on the A side. On the B side, I know you talked about home trust, but the B lenders play a key role in helping clients expand their wealth. We go to them after we've maxed out with the A lenders, home trust, Equitable Bank. These are still solid players.
That's good to hear. I want to paint the picture like I know I was suckered in. Oh, there's this rate by Simply Financial, and it's so low. And you go there, and when you show them your 2 rental properties at that time, but they were like, they didn't know how to navigate it. I wasn't dealing with a broker at that time. It's just me, like, getting suckered in by the interest rates online and say, "Oh, I can qualify for that." And then you go in there, you waste, like, an hour and a half and realize there's no way you're gonna get that rate.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. This is a great point. Yes, absolutely. The fact that you see a great rate online doesn't mean you're going to qualify for it.
That's why you're here. So, let's see where we can find you.
We are reachable at info@streetwisemortgages.com or through our website at streetwisemortgages.com via the contact form.
And I love the fact that when you make that call, you get like a free consultation to hear what the potential client's goals and aspirations are versus just a transaction that you guys
Absolutely.
build a relationship.
Absolutely. We are all about planning and holistic advice when it comes to debt structures and financing, not about the transaction. I came from a financial planning background, and that's what I brought to Streetwise Mortgages, and it serves our clients well. That's how we've helped many scale their portfolios from 1 to 50, 60 in apartment buildings now because of the planning methodology and the strategies versus, oh, you have a deal, let's try to figure out where to place that deal. That's not how we work.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much, Dalia.
You're welcome. My pleasure.